I got something on my mind here. Right? April, what is it? 23rd of 2024. What you doing, Nana? Well, I don't know, Andre. I think I'm kind of working on the nonprofit here. Okay, I know. That's a part of Nana that you didn't know existed because you were too little to remember. Right? Not his fault. Okay, so anyway, in a nutshell, I did another donation to Lady Jane, specifically to help the mother with her children get a roof on her home. I wanted to call it a hut, but I wasn't trying to be disrespectful in terms of, you know, us Westerners, if we hear the word hut, all of a sudden, like automatically, we go into the default of, you know, some lowly person living in a hut somewhere, God knows where, which is not necessarily a positive image, right? A hut doesn't matter if it's a hut or a mansion, it's a home. So, for the woman in the home with the leaky roof, God forbid, with small children yet to boot, and no bedding, no proper bedding. Apparently her husband died. And because of the poverty level in Africa, you know, here, there, everywhere, right? You know, there comes a time when, I don't know, people lose their way and are forgotten. Well, we're not forgetting anybody here. Okay. So the title of this video, I think, will be Playing Hardball with Africa. And there was something else I wanted to add to it, and now I can't remember because I'm kind of tired. And I got a whole lot of stuff I got to do, and I haven't even started my day yet. But I'm going to work on this video with, you know, the follow-up with Lady Jane. So I thought I'd put this first, right? Because she uploaded another video today with the other half of her donation, right, through my donation, right? And I managed to get something up on my community wall, right? And yeah, I'm just going to keep working on it. So before I go any further, though, you know, since I'm reminiscing here, you know, and I'm brainstorming, this is what this is. That's all about brainstorming. Okay, we're brainstorming for ideas here. You know, we're brainstorming for solutions. We're brainstorming for, you know, results that are spread out in terms of the responsibility to get those results. I mean, anybody can say, yeah, I want results, but if you don't work for them or contribute towards them, you're not going to get results, right? So in the meantime, I'm going to read this because I want to send this to Lady Jane just for her to put in, you know, through the hippocampus short-term memory what's being said here so that it can be logged into her long-term memory so that she can remember at key points within her travels something that, you know, was mentioned here that she could quite possibly build on to make it better where she is. Because, you know, I don't want to say the rabbit hole is deep, but the deeper I'm going down the rabbit hole, I'm getting a really strong sense here, people, that, you know, Lady Jane, whether she realizes it or not, she's heading down a path of being kind of like a social worker, really. Yeah, when you think about it. And she's working on social development programs and safety nets for vulnerable families, right? It just so happens the politics in Uganda, Africa in general, we're not even going to pinpoint it to Uganda because the problem is systemic. When it comes to social safety nets not being readily available to the residents of the country within Africa, and in this case it would be Uganda, where vulnerable families have assistance in order to be protected from, the dangers of society in general, people, And, through my little conversations there with Lady Jane through Gmail, I'm always asking questions. She answers what she can, right? And like the little girl that the first donation basically went to, right? In terms of a fair amount of food. Is she by herself? And she's 11. Like, how does that make any sense? Where's the social safety net for her? And, she's looking after, I think, one sibling. She had two, but I guess the youngest was the smallest. And so, somebody else is helping with there. But because the poverty level is so low, the family who took the youngest isn't able financially to take the other two, even though the one that needs it, they all three need it because the oldest is only 11. I told Lady Jane, come to Canada, and children are like $1 billion industry out here when it comes to child apprehensions. That's what fuels the middle class. That's what illegal apprehensions, child apprehensions. Oh my God. You've employed 20 social workers. You've employed, 25 freaking lawyers with 10 judges. You've employed, 15 to 20 foster care parents, all within one provincial fiscal budget. And it goes into the millions and billions of dollars. Right? We're there in Uganda. Families are left to wallow. And if there are any resources trickling in from the state of Uganda, the government, the federal government of Uganda, obviously there's corruption going on in there because the money that the state is contributing isn't making sure it's meeting its destination. In terms of those families that really need it. Because of the bureaucracy around it, which is kind of like what happens in Canada. Only we take it to a whole new level. Right? So, I'm aware of that. And I don't know. It depends on how far this woman wants to go with her endeavors. Right? That's why I put the big ballpark out there. One Africa, one tribe. If you're going to go for it, you might as well go for it all. See it as your playground. You have a lot of children in that playground. You better figure out how you're going to look after them. But she can't do it by herself, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. All right. So anyway, we're going to pull up something from the past here that I wrote many, many, many years ago, trying to be a rebel raiser in my community, be a rock and roller, shaking the foundation of British Columbia, Canada, to bring in a revolution under an ex-solution. Okay. And one of those ways was I wrote this as a template to build upon within my own community I was hoping for, because we have a lot of farmlands and stuff like that out here, and there's things that we could do with our surplus products, farming products like produce, right? Produce and blueberries and that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure this is where I wrote it. I'm going to read it right now. For outreach to other countries, I wanted to see dehydrating facilities, people, set up in the province of British Columbia, Canada, so that we could get truckloads, I'm talking truckloads, of blueberries and whatnot, going to these manufacturing dehydrating plants, doing that process, and then putting them in 50-gallon sized barrels, and then shipping them to countries where it was needed as a food supplement. And not only did I want that for Canada, but obviously for other countries as well, right? Well, this is why I'm bringing it to the surface, and I'm bringing it to Lady Jane's attention, that perhaps, maybe as time goes by, depending on who she comes into contact with, maybe they can establish something like what I'm suggesting here as a social services program for the communities within a state across the country of Africa, right? And this just might be one method to help bring that, to make it happen. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but with motivation and with, intent to get the job done, it could happen. Right? So let's just read it, and then I'm going to go on to the next part of this video. Okay? I mean, I'm kind of like in new territory here, talking about things that I know about, but, I've been beat down so bad, people, that, you start to self-doubt yourself and second guess and feel like that you're not entitled to think the way you do because other people don't necessarily agree with it, right? Just that negative programming. So we're going to push past the negative programming and get back on the bandwagon of thinking about, doing something positive here. So I'm just going to read this as fast as I can. My eyes get fried, but whatever, I'll deal with it. I'll go for as long as I can see, people. All right, so the purpose of the Kids Comp Corner is to introduce, is to introduce into the mainstream educational system, whether public or private, a fun and rewarding way for students, teachers, parents, and administrators to explore and build upon their creative notions concerning science, physics, biology, ecology, and any or all other related future scientific notions that can be adopted into our existing environments all across the nation. Now, take that statement. Now, when I wrote this, I was thinking about, obviously, Canada and the United States, because I had 2 federal trademark names, fully registered. Now I have Canada, and I bootlegged the United States of America because of, always being chopped down at the knees. Right? So now we're going to add in Africa. That whole paragraph you can apply to Africa. All right. The Kids Comp Corner is the mentor program to the provincial trust account called District Public Enhancement 1. That is like for school meal programs, whatnot, right? That type of thing. And then 2 is more for land mass, I'm pretty sure. It's been a long time. I don't even know anymore. Anyway, as this allows creativity to surface by inviting communities to participate equally in the opportunity of planning for their future needs under the umbrella of a healthy, safe, and productive competitive environment. So therefore, that is why this program is called Kids Comp Corner, with comp meaning competition for short. So in other words, as things were supposed to be developed, instead of breeding jealousy, envy, that kind of thing, because one has and the other one doesn't. It was to rather it was the opposite. It was to instill a healthy, competitive environment, philosophy, opportunity, where the onlookers, the ones looking in, right, to the success of a program where over here we've got a manufacturing plant that actually dehydrates blueberries in the truckloads and then packages them into 50-gallon size barrels ready for shipment to go overseas to countries like Africa, India, because don't forget, we got 20 million children sitting up in India who are homeless and basically abandoned. Okay? So I'm sure they could benefit from a few barrels of blueberries and maybe some carrots. Okay? I'm just saying. And if not there, it would be a different country. Not including redistributing a few barrels within the province of British Columbia, Canada. But you see, the thing is, the province of British Columbia, Canada doesn't have a universal school meal program. It hasn't been interested in a universal school meal program. However, the United States does. Right? And there's always room for improvement when it comes to the United States. But as for Canada, my job was to try and make it universal, where it was, available to each and every kid from this grade to that grade within that learning center or whatever, where they had access to some level of some kind of school meal program based on a federal, not just provincial, but federal, national universal school meal program. So that obviously that's not what the province of British Columbia wanted under the BC Liberals, and even now with the NDP coming in with their I don't know how many millions of dollars investment into a universal school meal program. You have to keep in mind when they put the word in front universal, there's nothing universal about it. All it is a few speckled schools that have a little bit of catered food coming in, just so that they can say that there is a school meal program meeting the needs of the most, vulnerable in our community, which isn't necessarily so. But, it's politics, right? However, you got to be careful what these governments are doing now, because now they're trying to replace proteins with, lab meats and insects and who knows, right? Well, in Africa, they don't have to worry about homegrown lab meat. Not at this point. Not like us Canadians out here, right? As our cost of food is going higher and higher and higher, and our choices are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. It won't come a day. There will come a day where there might not be such a thing as called beef anymore in the country of Canada at the rate things are going. So this was written with none of that in mind, because that's certainly not anything I want to support, scientifically or otherwise. I'm just saying. Right? So anyway, let's get back to this. Kids comp. So if Lady Jane is successful at creating a little business in her area as a community initiative, okay? Hear me out. Right? As a community initiative, so that they can take whatever surplus produce that they have, or grains or whatever, right? Process it, whether it's for the local community and their needs as a surplus, for the charities in the neighborhood to be able to give it out to those in need, right? Or whether that surplus is maybe going to a neighboring community within Uganda that's in need, that doesn't quite have what maybe Lady Jane can establish over a period of time. Who knows, right? So instead of trying to make the neighboring community, we're not trying to make the neighboring community jealous. You know, we're just trying to establish I don't know what it's called really, is like financial security, because if you're producing a product, I mean, it's somewhere down the food chain, somewhere down the money chain, somewhere down the transport, or something like, you would think that somehow, some way, that commodity would be, I don't want to say paid for, but like if you create a product, you have a surplus after taking care of your own community. That surplus comes for sale, but you're a charity doing it, because this is all based on charitable work, right? You're a charity doing it, right? And then you got now in your neighboring community, you know, problems that need to be, you know, dealt with in terms of they need donations to be able to get up on their feet, right? Because that's basically what it boils down to, right? You know? And then perhaps somebody in that community could forward a stipend, a fee, or whatever, just to cover at least the costs of what it costed to create the product in the first place without the profit. And then, because you're now transferring those 50 barrels of food, we'll say 10 barrels at 50 pounds, no, 50 gallons. You know, 50 size gallon barrel of food. That's a lot of food if it was dehydrated. That's a lot of freaking blueberries if it was dehydrated, trust me, okay? I'm just saying. You'd need a pretty big dehydrating plant in order to be able to pop out that many blueberries to fill a 50-gallon drum. They're not even called barrels, they're called drums, for crying out loud. All right, well, Lady Jane sends over 10 of those 50-gallon drums of dehydrated blueberries to this community over here that's just looking in. They're just looking in. They're like, and they're trying not to get jealous, but they don't understand why they're being left behind. You know, there's always somebody, don't leave me behind, right? Like that walnut, don't leave me behind, right? You know? So, you know, you can't walk away, people. You have to, right, give them an opportunity to compete in a positive, healthy kind of way, so that both communities can rise together, not just one. And that's the problem with Canada. There is no sense of collective unity. There really isn't. But this is what it represents, though, right? Like what I wrote. Like, I wrote these things not realizing how messed up my freaking province was. Politically, socially, the whole 9 yards. Like, seriously, I was so naive, so dumb, so young, so I don't even know what I was thinking. But I'm glad I wrote it, though, people, because it's something to draw on and continue to use as a blueprint to build on for those that are serious. You see, you got to be serious about this stuff. And as you're going into it, you got to be aware, right? At least aware. Lucky you if you're aware that there are people out there on all levels of the spectrum that will not want to see you succeed. Because if Lady Jane started to go into the manufacturing business within her community to dehydrate a surplus of food coming in just so that it can stimulate the economy on a local level, as well as bring in those social services safety nets where some of that food can be donated, as in food stamps, a welfare check, right? You know, what does, right? To supplement a household income where at least there's food security in the house to some degree or another, right? They don't have welfare, social service safety nets in Uganda like we do in Canada and the United States. And that's what makes those people out there that are, at the poverty line, or the working poor just above the poverty line, whatever the poverty line is in Uganda. You know what I'm saying? It makes it dangerous for them. It makes it dangerous for them, people, because they're vulnerable, like more than just going hungry. So anyway, let's just continue reading, okay? All right. Through public awareness and support, the Kids Comp Corner can be a vessel that paves a way for the educational system to extend itself through district learning facilities in the near future. All right. So, again, speaking with Lady Jane through email, the subject of the little girl came up. Why is she doing what is anyone looking out for her? That was my question. Who's watching her? How old? She's 11 years old. Nobody's watching her. Oh my God. If there was a child like that in Canada, oh my Lord, and looking after her sibling yet, living in those types of conditions, you'd have 50 social workers showing up at the door, all scrapping over who's going to get the kids. Okay? It's that fast and that simple. All right? We're here in Uganda, it's the complete opposite. Right? Because what little funding is going towards, I don't even know, if I'm a federal, if I am the Ugandan government, and I don't know how their country is broken up into transfer payments. Like, how much transfer payments does Lady Jane's municipal board of directors receive from the federal Uganda government to help the children in need who have either lost their parents and are looking after themselves, even if they are only 11 years old, and their siblings, because the surrounding community around them is so poor that they don't have the resources to help them as children, except for maybe the smallest of the small. I can't imagine what that does for the morale of the community. Okay, in terms of the morale, you have to remove yourself from that pain. Just like with, okay, Lady Jane, oh God, I'm going to upload this video as is, and this will be part 2, because I haven't even gotten into Lady Jane's videos yet, okay? But this is important, because I'm not here to waste my time, nor her time, okay? Because we're dealing with some very serious issues, Okay, so I don't want to get into lecturing. All right, so let's just get back to this. I lost my train of thought, people. I'm sure I'll come back to it. System to extend itself through district learning facilities in the near future. Right. So the federal government of Uganda must be giving something financially to so at least it's on the books, where there is some form of a social safety net for the children who have lost their parents and have become basically orphans without any caregivers, living in a bush. Okay? You don't want to get me down there, because it won't be long before we're all swinging around off the freaking trees with vines having a blast. But the problems will still be there. Right? So we have to find a way to solve the problems. Even in a little way. And not walk away. All right. So I guess whatever's there in terms of resources from Lady Jane's point of view, and of course, we can't expect her to know these answers because it's not anything that she's done research on. right? But basically, you know, there's a level of corruption that's going on in the country of Africa, and it's systemic between country to country as a collective whole within the continent. And it comes in from different avenues. Some is corporate from other countries, others is, you know, inside house corporate corruption, just like anywhere else in the world, right? When it comes to politicians and their greed. All right? All right. So, my question is, what kind of social services budget is on the books within their local municipal council headquarters, whether they call it City Hall, I don't know what they call their municipal board of directors that runs the financial decisions within this particular community, because I would assume that they would have their own board of directors, right? So I asked her, what's the general population of your community in terms of a village? Are we looking at 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 20,000 people? I don't even know what would constitute to be a village. And how many people have to live in a village before it becomes a small town? How many people have to live in a town, right, before you get to the maximum amount where it starts to become a city? Right? And then you add up the towns, the villages, the cities, and then you look to the federal budget of Uganda to see who gets what within a particular portfolio. And in this situation, it would fall under social services. Right? So anyway, let's just read. I'm brainstorming. It is here where the Kids Comp Corner, oh my eyes, comes into play, because under this program, communities have the opportunity to explore, experiment, plan. That's what Lady Jane is doing right now. She's planning, she's exploring, right? She hasn't quite got to the part of experimenting yet, but definitely she can plan. There is no crime to plan. There is no crime to explore. This is what humans like to do. For what type of learning environments best suits the needs from kindergarten to higher learning grades, and including colleges and universities. All right. Well, in order for a child to go to school in Uganda, their fees have to be paid. Right? So, you know, that in itself is going to be a hurdle when you're trying to bring in a public program where the Ugandan government and its partnering municipalities, districts, city councils, village councils, town councils, you know, are all on the same bandwagon to start bringing in a universal public school system where children like that little girl are not left out on the road trying to sell pancakes so that she can go home and look after her sibling. It takes a community to raise children. The Kids Comp Corner is meant to instill, oh my Lord, provincial excitement. Okay? If you're going to get competitive, get excited that your neighbors are going to, and maybe they're not dehydrating blueberries because you're doing it, so they're not trying to cut your grass, but maybe they're dehydrating carrots. And then maybe when the time comes and there's enough to go around, one group can send over 10 barrels of 50-gallon drums of dehydrated blueberries to this community, Well, this community can send over 10 50-gallon drums of dehydrated carrots to that community in exchange as a bartering system to meet the needs in both communities. Okay? And so on and so on. I'm just saying, but that costs money. And if everybody's sitting on their butt, ain't nothing gonna get done. If everybody's brooding and scowling and scheming because they're jealous and envious because so-and-so is doing this and they can't do that, well, you know, you have a choice. You either jump up on the bandwagon and make it happen, or I guess maybe at some point you might get lost in the dust. Who knows? All I know is that it's doable with the right people pushing it forward. Whether it's through the envelope, through those, you know, offices, doing the necessary paperwork, making the necessary inquiries, getting the necessary statistics, you know, maybe meeting a few politicians, getting your T's, crossed, your I's dotted, and then, you know, maybe putting out a few proposals. You never know. You never know. That's what I mean. It's doable. It's not doable for me, though. It ain't ever going to happen for me out my way. No. If it happens someplace else, because maybe I spurred it on, you know, I instigated it, and then all of a sudden it popped off in 2 years from now, and I can sit back blind as a bat and say, yeah, I had a hand in that. You know, I provided as much information as I could. I put forward my personal experiences to help so that you could guard yourself from, you know, being falsely accused of this or falsely accused of that, right? You know, like I told Lady Jane, anything that I give you, just keep your receipts, because sooner or later somebody's going to start accusing you of stealing money. That's just the way it rolls when you go out and do things for people. And, you know, they assume that, and another thing is, they assume that just because somebody gave you that money, well, first of all, they assume that somebody gave you that money. Many of what I did back in the day, I paid for it, and I just did it because my responsibility was to secure the federal trademark. I couldn't go around town begging for donations, expecting people to help a nobody, so I just dug into my own pocket, went into debt, and did what I had to do so that I could even talk about the things that I talk about right now. Okay? So, I told Lady Jane, just save your receipts, protect yourself so that you don't get falsely accused of stealing money, right? And do your little follow-up videos, because I gave her a bit more money to buy roofing for that mother with children, and apparently her husband died, and I believe it. And because of the poverty level, without the social safety nets being accounted for in this village, she's not receiving any services, which is a tragedy. You know, it's criminal, people. You just don't leave women and children, families, to wallow away. But if you yourself are wallowing right next door to them, right? When one house implodes, more start to implode, and then what happens? Everything implodes. Right? So that's why I'm talking about this. This is something that she can take to other people and discuss it as an alternative to generate either a food surplus, where it can be recycled back in the community where it's needed, or it could be used as a bartering tool to bring in other foods into the community in order to continue supplementing households in need. Right? Okay. Where was I? What did I read? Okay, now we're on to this one here. All right, the Kids Comp Corner is meant to instill provincial excitement, right? In the event of that actual day when a well thought out plan and blueprint has been elected to begin the process of building extended learning facilities that benefit the whole community emotionally and economically. Food dehydrating plants, exactly. But you see, out here, everything is money, 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 profit, 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 profit. So ain't nobody gonna do anything unless they can personally profit from it. And that's why this is still sitting on the back burner on my website. Right? I'm just saying. But for a community like where Lady Jane lives, this might be a really good idea to start exploring, planning around, maybe doing a few experiments just to try it out, see what they can do. They don't have to use dehydrating plants. They have the sun, the natural dehydrator. All they have to do is come in with the 50-gallon drums, you know what I'm saying, and some workers, right? Whether the workers get paid in cash or maybe the workers get paid in food. I'm just saying, all right? There, it becomes a community initiative and not so much a competitive extravaganza where everybody's got to be one up on everybody else so that nobody succeeds, except for maybe those few that I guess you could classify as wealthy, as the rich get wealthier while the poor get poor. No, this was written for the poor to get richer, people. I stand my ground. Food dehydrating plants, oh my eyes, that offer educational, oh my lord, and economical incentives combined with a futuristic view on life by taking into account all energy concerns. They have the sun, people. They're rich in energy when it comes to dehydrating food, for crying out loud, that face our planet while exploring scientific solutions to combat everyday concerns such as rising inflation. Now, this was written or at least posted in 2010. Landfill concerns, right? And or food shortages. Oh my lord, food shortages. How could I see that far in advance? Are the key components to expand on when school districts take on the challenge of the kids' corner. So I would say in this situation, Lady Jane really needs to stop and think about if she wants to open up a school as an independent school that is public, if that makes any sense. You have the protection of being private, but you have the responsibility of being public. And I don't even know if responsibility is the right word. It's more like, well, I don't even want to say obligation. It's a right. It's a right. So you have the protection if you want to start a school, Lady Jane. You have the protection of being private because your school system is already privatized. That's plain as day with that little girl not going to school or any other child like her. Okay? Especially under her circumstances with no mother, no father, no family. All right? Clearly, something's broken here and we need to fix it. So I would highly consider opening up a private school where it's public to those who need it. Okay? Right? That's the first step. So now that you've opened up a page with that idea, you have to first of all figure out how you're going to feed everybody, because as soon as they come, they're going to be hungry. This is giving you an idea. That's all it is. Go talk to your pastor, go talk to your friends, go talk to somebody. This is why I say you need DJs and MCs. Okay? We're playing hardball here. MamaLynn style. Oh yeah, that was the other part of my title that I wanted to put in my video. Playing hardball. MamaLynn style. This is hardball. You're a long way from me. I'm in Canada. You're in Africa. That's hardball. If I have ever played hardball, this is the time. Right? Okay. Food dehydrating plants that offer education. Okay, find facilities that benefit. Oh my Lord, my eyes. Whole community emotionally read that. Food dehydrating plants that offer educational. This is recording. God forbid if it's not. Yeah, it is. And economical incentives combined with a futuristic view on life by taking into account energy concerns that face our planet while exploring scientific solutions to combat everyday concerns such as rising inflation, landfill concerns, and or food shortages are all key components to expand on when school districts take on the challenge of the Kids Comp Corner. All right. Individual schools can participate directly within the school environment too. And as more people become involved with the excitement connected to this community mentor program, more funds will be generated in order to accumulate the revenues to meet the building costs and other related products in order to see the day when the Public District Enhancement 1 Provincial Trust account plays an active role in the rebuilding and restoring of all school districts. So, does Uganda even have school districts? Or is it just a willy-nilly, free-for-all, well, if you want to go to school, you have to pay over here? Like, who gets the money? Obviously, the teachers. Obviously, there's some maintenance involved with the building, but is not the government of Uganda helping to fund that school? Or is everybody a private operator when it comes to a pay-as-you-go school, regardless of the child's age? Okay? Because it seems to me like the government of Uganda has offloaded the responsibility onto the poorest of the poor in order to be able to educate themselves, which is completely unreasonable. All right? All right. Almost done. And then I'm going to end this video. This will be part 2 of what I'm doing. With time, the Kids Comp Corner will manifest itself into an interactive website. Now, Lady Jane, honest to God, I really am going blind. I hate to say it. I can't stop it. For whatever reason, God just wants me to go blind. You know, as if my life isn't hard enough. But I guess there's something I gotta see after the fact, or I'm supposed to see it now. I don't know. All I know is you can't be afraid of life. And I'm not the only person going blind here. So we do until we just can't do no more. And then even then we find a way. I figure if I go completely blind and I end up being kind of stationary and can't really do things anymore for myself and I'm completely dependent on who knows who, I'll just sit at the piano, some kind of freaking keyboard piano, and I'll pluck out songs for children. Yeah. And then Andre will upload them online. And we'll see what happens. Right? But other than that, I haven't quite gotten there to that point, right? So individual schools can participate directly with the school environment too. And so, yeah, so this website, what I was going to say was, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm always superhuman. Well, at least super mom, super grandma, super somebody. Super community activist, just, you know, super, right? In other words, you know, full of energy, don't take no for an answer, you know, like to try and break the glass ceiling, those sound barriers, you know, just not afraid to try new, just whatever, right? So with that, I'd like to think that I might be able to update on this particular website, you can see, which I'll put into my description box here, when I upload this video. I'd like to think that I can come back in here after my life levels out a little bit and I get caught up with some stuff here at home and just, you know, update the page. Right now, last modified, do you see? October 13th of 2010. That's a long time for this to come back up to the surface. It needs to be updated, especially if you accomplish something along these lines. I'm just saying. So think about that, right? Well, I think about trying to update this page, although I am going blind. So to what degree or another, I don't know how well I'd be able to update it. Never mind finding the time to do it. But for now, we have the page, right? And you know, you're thinking. That's all you can do at this point is think. Okay, so anyway, with time, the Kids Comp Corner will manifest itself into an interactive website that promotes community activism in a different kind of way by allowing people of all ages the opportunity to learn how future learning facilities being built around facilities, missed a word there, should be are maybe, but either or, being built around solid scientific concepts that use alternative energies that will match the needs of all generation of children to come. So whatever you're scheming on here, Lady Jane, when it comes to a dehydrating plant, packing up some of that stuff into, I'm just giving you a suggestion, 50-gallon sized drums, and implementing a bartering system or a pay-as-you-go fee, basic cover costs met to, I don't know, right? You know what will work in your community, but you already got the energy source. You've got the sun. The sun will do half the work for you. You just have to find a way to get the people to do the other half. And then you will have a commodity to build upon and to distribute to those most vulnerable. As you lobby, perhaps, your local city councils so that they can lobby the Ugandan government to bring in more funds to be able to expand on your private school, which is public. So they're just done. If the child is orphaned in a bad spot, parent lost her husband, whatever the situation is, doesn't matter. If there's a need and the parent or the child wants to go to school, then so be it. It should be done. And then that there, it kind of brings in a little bit of a safety net because there's caregivers involved, right? But that's a long way because clearly your country is broken. But then you can't say Canada is any better because in my country, children represent billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars for the middle class and for the government to, use as a tool to prop up their budgets and their portfolios and their pension plans and just whatever. Illegal child apprehension is a huge problem in Canada. A huge problem right along in the United States of America. Destroys millions of lives between the two continents yearly. It's like a form of money laundering. We're here, there's not even 1 cent to be money laundering anything. So these children are left to stay and wallow where they are, while the ones beside them are also wallowing. And that's why they're left. That's why we have to bring the whole community up, not just one. We start with the one. But the one over here community looking, seeing this one's being more successful, and they don't understand why they're not getting help. They can't get jealous. You see, that's the thing. You can't get jealous. You have to see it as an opportunity to start creating for yourself in your own community. One dehydrates carrots, put them in those 50-gallon drums, One, dehydrates. I don't know if they have blueberries out there, but they're easy to dehydrate and they're highly nutritional and they last long time, easy to preserve. I'm sure they'll do fine under the sun. I'm just saying. Into 50-gallon drums. And even if they were just to pass 10 here, 10 there, you're successful. That's what I mean by healthy competition. Okay. Being built around this solid scientific, oh my eyes, concept that, and you don't even know what it's like when I walk away from the computer and I get in the kitchen and start having to do things. Holy crumb! You don't know. Concepts. But my problems are a cakewalk. Concepts that use alternative energies that will match the needs of all generations of children to come. The hope behind this program is centered around bettering our immediate environments as well as introducing revenue, generating income so that participating students have the tools to follow through on their educational futuristic ideas. So in other words, if you make a profit, just invest it back into your program. Okay. How this program will be introduced into the mainstream education system will depend on the length of time it will take to secure provincial or state trust accounts. However, once a network has been established, plans can be made as to which would be the best method of integrating any program developed under the Kids Comp Corner into the mainstream ideology. You start a private school that is public, which becomes mainstream. And it's an ideology which encourages the federal government of Uganda to be a part of the solution, which helps to stabilize community after community after community after community. Okay? But we're at the first step. We're just going into it. Kids Comp Corner into the mainstream ideology of all future goals connected to New Nations Unity Trust Account. Okay, she can remove the trust account part. This was just because those days I was working with the trust accounts. I'm not saying she needs to start breaking things up into trust accounts. Obviously not. What she needs to do is focus on what she thinks that she'd be best at, and being that she's already going into the role of being a form of a social worker, she needs to think about education. And that's not just for the children, that's also for the adults, but we can only think about one thing at a time here, right? And, or one group of people at a time here. And how she's going to feed them. Because you know they're coming to school hungry, for the most part. And that's just the way it is. It has nothing to do with living in Africa. We have that everywhere, you know, right? Anytime you have school, it's just best to have food available. Even in Japan, they feed the kids lunch, right? I'm just saying. And Japan's a rich country. So, rich or poor, it doesn't matter. All right, so, let's go look at number one, since I was focusing on number one, just to be sure, because I have two here, if you notice. It's been a long time. District Enhancement 1, I'm pretty sure that's the school lunch program, school restoration, where District number 2 is more to do with the farms and, you know, animal husbandry and waterways and, you know, the environment, okay? So let's just, okay, so oh my Lord. Okay, so we can go here. It's got Stairway to Heaven. So we're going to keep it. And we're going to play it. All right. I made this long time ago. Did I turn off the volume? Oh. Yeah. I like my middies. I'm sorry. I just do. They keep me company when I make web pages. That's probably why I have them on there. When I make web pages, I like MIDI like this playing in the background as I used to write the code on this, right? Are they giving me my code to my web page? Here, let me see. Well, here, let's look first. See? And then, of course, I wrote something here as well, right? This is on lockdown. Something's on lockdown in that bank. I don't get enough help out here, people. This was updated last, do you see that? Last modified, February 14th, 2006. That's the last time I updated this page. What do you think about that? I can barely see it anymore. Yeah, I can barely see it anymore. And we got a product list here. Do you see the product list? Product list. District Enhancement Project 1. Permanent Solution. Plan 1. Sprinkler system. Smoke alarms. Because you have to remember, we don't have functioning kitchens out here, people, for a school meal program. Mine was to have the school grounds have the actual kitchen in the grounds where the children can go to a cafeteria and get a wholesome plate of food, right? That was my idea for a universal school meal program in Canada. All right, so that's why I'm putting this stuff down. Grease traps, ranges, fire suppression systems, fans, canopy, and fridges, shelves, racks, dry storage, freezers, table and chairs, display coolers, steam tables, dishwasher, cookware, silverware, trays, staff, washroom, student washrooms, flooring, building, construction estimates, health department certificate, insurance, engineering, blueprint, electrical, structural, and plumbing, mechanical, and city planning and development permit. Good luck, Lady Jane. If I couldn't do it, I don't know. It would be a miracle if you could. But you never know. You never know, Lady Jane. I mean, come on. The idea is still around, right? The idea hasn't gone away yet, so with the idea comes a possibility. You never know. Right? Set your sights high. For sure. Right? Open up yourself a little private school. Go off and buy a bit of paper and some crayons and You know, just something like that. And as you go see the children, give them some paper, some crayons, you know, some glue, scissors for the older ones, right? A few old magazines so they can cut and glue, and, you know, some paper where they can write with some pencils. Leave it behind with the title of your school. Call yourself whatever you want, right? That's what I would do. You just gotta go do it sometimes, because, you know, if you don't, nobody else will, right? Just saying.